If you're watching this video, you've already completed your assessments and whatnot. You're now looking on how to use the phases to help instruct your programming. So what you're going to do here, there are two main ways of doing this. So the very first way is actually within the assessment program that you have already been working on. So let's just say we were to continue on with algebra. And again, if you haven't watched the other video, copy a document means that it's going to make your own document. Only you will have permissions to this, and it'll show up in your Google Drive, and you can organize from there. So you open Make a Copy here, and we're going to pretend that test algebra. Okay, we are going to pretend that I gave an E to G tool, and it told me that the student was at a level or a phase 3. So I'm going to go over here to phase 3. I'm going to type in that student's name. We'll say that the student's name is Dale Jr. And here we are going to begin to see which specific items they already have. Again, which specific items they already have. Now, you can use the website for this. So if you're going back to the website, you can go to Results to Teaching. And we're on algebra. Dale Jr. scored a level or a phase 3, let's say. And I have the concepts and like 3.1, 3.2, 3 denoting the phase level, and 2 denoting it's the second thing in the list. And it has all these items here. You can work off of this list, or you can hover over top just like you would have done for the assessment. 3.1 identifies and extends a broader range of patterns. Again, identifies and extends a broader range of patterns. It's the same thing. And let's say Dale Jr. has that one. So we're going to just click it and check that off. I go over to 3.2, identifies errors in the extension of a broader range. Sure. I'm going to move all the way through here, and I'm going to skip a couple as I'm going through and say that that student doesn't have those ones. All right. So now I've gone through Dale Jr.'s assessment and other work that I may have seen, and just kind of like on the DRA, how you're going to be going through the rubric. This is kind of like that rubric here of the DRA. So here I know that for my math program for Dale Jr., I'm going to need to be working on describing simple patterns using pattern rules. That's going to be the very first thing that I work on with him. In addition to I might choose another option as well. Translate a broader range of patterns from one medium to another. So again, I'm going to be taking a look at whatever he doesn't have, and that's what I'm going to be working on next. Once Dale Jr. has consolidated all of the missing components here, I'm going to retest Dale Jr., see if those have actually truly stuck, and I'm going to repeat this process again. The second way to take your results from your assessments and turn them into programming is using a paper-based system. Some of us feel more comfortable in text, some of us don't. Some of us don't want to have that much blue light time, especially after this whole pandemic, right? So if you want to have a paper-based system, you're going to go to Organization and Marking. And where I went here for the all-in-one spreadsheet, I'm actually going to go to this option, this printable checklist. So I'm going to hit this little icon that pops up here. If you're on a phone, it'll be a Google Drive logo. And here, again, is just the concepts, the individual points, the skills, and it's the same thing, just checking them off as you're going through. You'll just have to do this by hand. Now, if you're wondering, well, where do I get the, what is 1.1? You have two options here. Option 1, you go back to the website, you go to Results to Teaching, and then you choose where you're at. So again, in our example, we're taking a look at Dale Jr., who scored a phase 3 in algebra. And I'm going to identify right off the bat here. I'm going to just make 2 windows. So I would have printed this off. Again, this is on an 11 by 17 sheet. It'll be a little bit smaller if you print it on a regular piece of paper. And I would put Dale Jr.'s name down here on the green list, and I would just type in, or I would just write a check mark 3.1, 3.2, doesn't have 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, whatever it is that that student needs there. The other option that you have here is if you have printed this out all the way and you want to be able to take a look at a number of students all at one time, you can do that as well. So if I were to go back to results to teaching, I go to algebra and I go to continuum for reference. Continuum for reference for under algebra. Now, if you want to print this out, it's on 11 by 17 page. Now, you can look at it on the website. I'll be honest, it's a little bit harder to do so on the website. But again, if you hit that little arrow, that pop-out button, it's going to open up a completely unique folder. You can zoom in if you want. And again, it has what identifying and extending patterns from a continuum standpoint, what it looks like on the developmental maps, right from phase 1 straight to phase 4. Obviously, modeling and translating patterns here in concept 2 is not relevant in phase 1, but it is in 2, 3, and 4. So these are things that you can have. I would recommend printing this out if you're going to use this one, but you have 2 different ways to get your results into programming. Again, once you have identified where a student is missing certain skill sets, that's where you're going to be targeting your program.